Captain James Drucker stood at the helm of the ESS Resilience, his eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of the wormhole before them. Humanity's first interstellar warship was about to make history, joining the Galactic Alliance in their centuries-long conflict against the Void Consortium. As the ship's AI counted down to jump, James couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaping into the unknown, carrying the hopes and fears of all humanity with them. Wormhole jump in 3, 2, 1. The universe seemed to stretch and contort around them as the Resilience plunged into the cosmic maelstrom. James's stomach lurched, his vision blurred, and for a moment he thought he could feel every atom in his body being pulled apart and reassembled. Then, as quickly as it began, it was over. "Jump complete," Captain reported Lieutenant Mike Chen from the navigation console. "We've arrived in the Proxima Centauri system." James took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Status report." "All systems nominal," came the reply from Chief Engineer Tom Rodriguez. The ship weathered the jump beautifully. As the crew bustled around him, running post-jump diagnostics and preparing for their rendezvous with the Galactic Alliance fleet, James allowed himself a moment of pride. Humanity had come so far in such a short time, from first contact just a decade ago to now standing shoulder to shoulder or whatever passed for shoulders among their new alien allies in a war that spanned the galaxy. The peace was short-lived. Alarms blared throughout the ship, and the tactical officer, Commander Steve Williams, shouted, "Multiple bogies incoming. Void Consortium ships dropping out of FTL." "Battle stations," James ordered, his voice calm despite the sudden surge of adrenaline. "Shields up, weapons hot. Looks like we're getting our baptism by fire earlier than expected, people." The space around them erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and explosions as the Resilience found itself in the middle of a furious dogfight. Consortium fighters swarmed around them like angry hornets, their plasma cannons leaving scorching marks on the Earth ship's shields. "Evasive maneuvers," James commanded. "Return fire with antimatter torpedoes, full spread." The Resilience danced through space, its human crew working in perfect harmony with the ship's AI to outmaneuver the more experienced alien pilots. But they were outnumbered and outgunned, and it wasn't long before a lucky shot from a Consortium cruiser breached their shields. "Hull breach on Deck C," Tom's voice crackled over the comms. "I'm heading down there now to assess the damage." James gritted his teeth. They couldn't afford to lose their chief engineer in the middle of a battle. "Negative, Chief. Send a repair team. We need you on the bridge." "With all due respect," Captain Tom argued, "I'm the only one who can jury-rig the shield generators to compensate for the Consortium's phased plasma weapons. I have to go." Before James could protest further, another blast rocked the ship. "Fine," he conceded. "But be careful down there, Tom. That's an order." As the battle raged on, James found himself pushed to the limits of his training and beyond. The Resilience was taking a beating, but they were giving as good as they got. Through it all, he couldn't help but feel a sense of exhilaration. This was what they had trained for, what humanity had dreamed of for centuries, proving themselves among the stars. Hours passed in a blur of tactical decisions, near misses, and the constant thunder of weapons fire. Just when it seemed the tide was turning in their favor, a massive explosion tore through the ship. "Direct hit to engineering," Mike shouted over the cacophony of alarms. "We've lost all power to the main engines." James's blood ran cold. "Tom? Tom, do you copy?" Silence. "Medical team to engineering," now James ordered, his voice tight with worry. He turned to his XO, Commander Sarah Johnson. "Sarah, you have the bridge." "I'm going down there." "Sir, protocol dictates," Sarah began, but James cut her off. "To hell with protocol. These are our people." The journey to engineering was a nightmare of twisted metal, sparking conduits, and the acrid smell of burning electronics. When James finally reached the heart of the ship, he was met with a scene of utter devastation. Bodies lay strewn across the floor, and at the center of it all, slumped against a sparking console, was Tom. James rushed to his friend's side, his heart pounding. Tom's body was a mess of burns and lacerations, his uniform fused to his skin in places. By all rights, he should have been dead. But as James reached for a pulse, Tom's eyes fluttered open. "Cap." Captain Tom's voice was weak, but there was a note of confusion in it. What happened?" James stared in disbelief. "Tom? How? How are you alive?" Before Tom could answer, a group of Proximan medics burst into the room, their elongated limbs carrying advanced medical equipment. They stopped short at the sight of Tom, their large, multifaceted eyes widening in what James assumed was shock. Impossible, one of them chittered in the universal translator. His injuries. He should be dead. As the Proximans swarmed around Tom, running scans and administering treatments, James found himself ushered out of the way. He watched in amazement as before his eyes, Tom's wounds began to close, burnt skin sloughing off to reveal healthy tissue beneath. Captain Drucker, the lead Proximan medic, addressed him, its antennae twitching with excitement. "We need to get your entire crew to our medical bay immediately. There's something unprecedented happening here." In the hours that followed, as the battle outside reached its climax and eventually subsided, James found himself in a whirlwind of medical examinations and urgent communications with both Earth and the Galactic Alliance High Command. The news spread like wildfire. Humans possessed extraordinary regenerative abilities when removed from Earth's atmosphere. Dr. Zixtal, the Proximan chief medical officer, explained it to James as they stood in the observation room, watching in awe as injured human crew members healed at an accelerated rate. "It appears to be a quirk of human physiology," Zixtal said, his translator struggling to convey the mixture of excitement and awe in his voice. "Your bodies are adapted to Earth's unique atmospheric composition. When removed from it, certain dormant genetic sequences activate, resulting in dramatically enhanced cellular regeneration." James shook his head, still struggling to process the implications. "But why didn't we notice this during training or our initial forays into space?" "The effect seems to strengthen the further you get from Earth and the longer you're away," Zixtal explained. "It's possible that the extreme stress of battle acted as a catalyst, fully awakening these latent abilities." As word of the discovery spread, the mood on the Resilience shifted from shell shock to cautiously optimistic. They had not only survived their first battle but had stumbled upon a game-changing ability that could alter the course of the war. In the days that followed, as the Resilience underwent repairs and the human crew was studied by an ever-growing team of alien scientists, James found himself in countless strategy meetings with Galactic Alliance commanders. The implications of their discovery were staggering. With this regenerative ability, human soldiers could be the key to turning the tide against the consortium. General Zaxlor, a grizzled veteran of the Andromeda campaigns, growled during one such meeting. "Imagine shock troops that can heal from almost any injury, infiltrators that can survive in the harshest environments." James shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "With all due respect, General, my crew and I didn't sign up to be guinea pigs or super soldiers. We're here to help, yes, but—" "But nothing," Captain Drucker Zaxlor cut him off. "This is war, and we need every advantage we can get. Your people's ability could save billions of lives across the galaxy." As the days turned to weeks, James watched with a mixture of pride and unease as his crew adapted to their new abilities. Tom, fully recovered from injuries that should have killed him, threw himself into upgrading the Resilience with reverse-engineered consortium tech. Mike discovered he could pilot the ship with unprecedented skill, his enhanced neural plasticity allowing him to interface with alien systems as if he'd been born to them. But with their newfound powers came new dangers. James overheard whispered conversations among the alien crew, a mix of awe and fear. Some called humans the regenerators with a reverence usually reserved for mythical beings. Others spoke in hushed tones of the potential threat they posed, not just to the consortium but to the balance of power in the galaxy as a whole. It all came to a head 2 months after their arrival, during a covert mission to a consortium stronghold. James led a small team, including Tom and Steve, to infiltrate the facility and steal vital intelligence. What should have been a suicide mission turned into a display of near invincibility as the human operatives shrugged off wounds that would have felled any other species. As they fought their way out of the facility, alarms blaring and consortium troops in hot pursuit, James caught a glimpse of himself in a reflective surface. His uniform was in tatters, covered in blood, both his and alien, but his skin beneath was unmarred. For a moment, he didn't recognize the person staring back at him. They made it back to the Resilience, mission accomplished, but James couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. He was proven right when, upon their return to the Alliance fleet, they were met not with celebration, but with a heavily armed security detail. Captain Drucker, Admiral EXTL, the overall commander of the Alliance forces in this sector, addressed him formally. In light of recent Developments: the Alliance Council has decided that your ship and crew are to be placed under quarantine until further notice. James bristled. Quarantine? We just handed you the key to winning this war, and you're treating us like a threat. YXTL's expression was unreadable, his compound eyes reflecting James's own angry face back at him. You misunderstand, Captain. We're not protecting ourselves from you. We're protecting you from those who would exploit your abilities, or eliminate the threat you pose. The Admiral's words sent a chill down James's spine. He thought of all the beings they'd encountered in their short time among the Star's allies, enemies, and those playing both sides. How many of them would see humans as a resource to be used, or a potential threat to be eliminated before they grew too powerful? As the Resilience was escorted to a high-security docking bay, James gathered his senior officers in the conference room. The mood was somber, the excitement of their newfound abilities tempered by the reality of their situation. So, what now? Captain Steve asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. We're pariahs among our allies and a prime target for our enemies. Where do we go from here? James looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each of his officers, humans who had come to the stars with dreams of exploration and cooperation, now thrust into the center of a conflict beyond their imagining. He thought of Earth, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around their tiny oasis in space. Now, James said, his voice firm with resolve, we do what humans have always done. We adapt, we survive, and we fight not just for ourselves, but for every being in this galaxy who's counting on us, whether they know it or not. He stood, feeling the weight of command, of responsibility, settling on his shoulders like never before. We are the Regenerators, he declared, tasting the name that had been whispered in awe and fear. And we will not be caged, controlled, or conquered. The real battle for humanity's place in the stars begins now. As his words hung in the air, James saw determination replace uncertainty in the eyes of his crew. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever enemies they would face both from without and within the Alliance, they would face them together. The galaxy had no idea what it had awakened in the children of Earth, but they were about to find out. The Resilience might be trapped for now, but James knew it was only temporary. Humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun, and not even the combined might of the galaxy could stop what they had set in motion. As alarms began to blare once more, signaling yet another crisis, James allowed himself a grim smile. The next chapter of human history was about to be written, and he had a feeling it would be one for the ages. Battle stations, he ordered, for what felt like the 100th time since leaving Earth. But this time, it wasn't just a battle for survival or victory. It was a battle for the future of humanity itself. And the Regenerators were ready.